That's probably almost all she wrote for the season, right? Caps lose 3-2 in regulation, unfortunately, to the Utah Mammoth, which means 0 standings points here tonight for our Washington Capitals. And yeah, although we will, of course, always try to remain positive here at the Janaea Talks Caps channel, they really cannot afford too many losses like this one. And again, here tonight, tough circumstances for our Washington Capitals, right? No John Carlson, again, due to a lower body injury. And no Alexei Protas here tonight due to personal reasons. It comes out after the game that was due to he and his partner having another child. So congratulations, big congratulations to Alexei Protas and family. But yeah, he was not available for the game here tonight, and nor was John Carlson. And those two absences certainly hurt the Washington Capitals here tonight. And again, it is a close game and another 1-goal loss by our Washington Capitals. But again, right, it does not really matter at this point in the season how much you lose by, right? The point is that you lost. The point is that you lost in regulation. And so, like I said, 0 standings points here tonight. And losing another game in regulation by just 1 goal, they sure could really use that top 6 forward that general manager Chris Patrick has been promising us for about 2 years now. More on that later, as we will have a podcast episode coming out this week regarding the trade deadline. But for now, let's get into this one, babes, and let's do your scoring. So it did not start well, right? As first period, Dylan Guenther for Utah, the Mammoth are up 1-0. That one was at even strength for the Mammoth. And then just a couple of minutes later here, and with Utah on a power play, it is Mikhail Sergachev, Mammoth up 2-0 here on the power play goal. So not a great start, right? And frankly, our Washington Capitals did not look great at all for much of this first period. But then, with the first period winding down and with the Caps still in a 2-goal hole, it is who else but Pierre-Luc Dubois, who has been unbelievable since returning from injury for the Washington Capitals here. Man, where would we be in the standings right now if we had had Pierre-Luc Dubois all season here? He has been, like I said, so awesome since coming back from that injury, from that surgery that he had. 4 goals and 6 points now in 5 games since returning for Pierre-Luc Dubois. And yeah, he pots another one here. And what a solo effort here by Pierre-Luc Dubois as he dances around pretty much every single Utah Mammoth player that is on the ice here. He goes like 1-on-4 here, dances around all of them, and then rips the shot to beat the netminder, cutting the Utah Mammoth their lead to 2-1 before the end of the first period here. And that is as well a McNugget minute goal for Washington Capitals fans as it comes with just 33 seconds left in the first period. So Pierre-Luc Dubois from Rasmus Sandin, he had the primary assist, the only assist there on that goal. Rasmus Sandin as well has been awesome of late, really stepping up in the absence of John Carlson, has Rasmus Sandin. So that is obviously great to see. And yeah, he gets the only assist here on this goal by Pierre-Luc Dubois. Like I said, cuts the Mammoth lead to 2-1, and that is how the first period would end. So even though the Caps played a pretty awful period here, right? They come out of it. They come out of these first 20 minutes here, and they are only down by just a single goal thanks to Pierre-Luc Dubois. Second period, there is no scoring here all the way through this middle frame here, up until about a minute and a half left. And with Utah, unfortunately, on another power play here, it is JJ Peterka. And this is just a really unlucky goal here for Logan Thompson. It goes off of both posts and in, the old ricochet off of both posts, and it finds its way into the back of the net. And so Utah now on another power play goal, they are up 3-1, and that is how the second period would end. Third period, it is the rookie Ryan Leonard for the Washington Capitals making this game interesting once again. Caps on a power play here, and Ryan Leonard calls his own number here. And boy, was that a good decision when you have a rocket of a shot like that. What an unbelievable shot. Picks the top corner here, does Ryan Leonard. Short side past the Utah netminder, cuts the Mammoth lead to 3-2 here in the third period. Assists on that goal by Dylan Strome and Jacob Chychrun. So the Caps, they are down by just a single goal now, and they play a really strong third period here. Great final 20 minutes by the Washington Capitals here. They outshoot Utah 12-6 in the third period, but they just cannot buy another goal. They cannot get another one to go in for them here, despite creating several grade A chances. They just cannot get one to go here. And so, unfortunately, folks, like I said, this one finishes in regulation as a regulation loss for the Washington Capitals, 3-2 to the Utah Mammoth. And this particular game, like I said, was kind of a microcosm, kind of a perfect example of exactly what this season has been here for the Washington Capitals. Again, you have a couple of injuries, a couple of absences before the game. And then again, it has just been a season here for the Washington Capitals where it really seems like no two things can seem to click here at the same time for the Caps. Tonight, their power play is finally clicking, right? It goes 2 for 2. And so naturally, on the same night, right, the penalty kill decides to take the night off, and the penalty kill goes 0 for 2, allowing 2 goals on 2 opportunities for the Utah Mammoth. So even when you finally get a couple of power play goals, which this season, certainly for the Washington Capitals, has been a major rarity. That has not happened very much at all for them this season, that they get multiple power play goals in one game. It has been a rarity that they get even one power play goal in a game, frankly, here this season. So even here tonight, right, even when you do manage to score twice on 2 opportunities on your power play, it becomes a wash, right? Because the penalty kill simultaneously gives up 2 as well. Like I said, just a perfect microcosm of this season for the Caps. And yeah, we will try to remain positive here, like I said, but the reality is that time is running out for these guys here to try and make a run at the Stanley Cup playoffs. All right, babes, that is going to be it for this one. Thank you all so much for tuning in again today. I really appreciate it. And yeah, for the Washington Capitals part, this was their last game before the NHL trade deadline coming up on Friday. They do not play again now until after the trade deadline. So it will be very interesting for sure, to see which approach the Washington Capitals decide to take at this year's trade deadline. Like I said, I will have a podcast episode coming out this week discussing all of that. So make sure that you turn your notifications on there on YouTube to make sure that you get notified when that podcast episode comes out. That should be a good one. Lots of talk coming up here ahead of the trade deadline here for the Washington Capitals. So yeah, I mean, it makes it interesting, right? With your last game before the trade deadline being a loss like this, right? And of course, they lost the previous game as well to the Montreal Canadiens. So not going in to the trade deadline on a really good note here are the Washington Capitals. But yeah, like I said, podcast episode coming out this week where we will discuss all of that. And yeah, the Capitals now, like I said, they don't play again until after the trade deadline. Their next game will be a hugely important one as well, as it is against the Boston Bruins, who they are directly chasing for a wild card spot in the Eastern Conference. So that will be a huge game. That one comes at you on Saturday. So make sure that you tune in for that. And yeah, we will be back here on the YouTube channel after that one for sure as well, to discuss that. Win or loss, but hopefully win. We will see, like I said, what the Caps look like after the trade deadline and what they can do down the stretch run here. So until then, babes, like I said, thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate that. Leave me your comments down below. I always enjoy reading those. And until next time, babes, and as always, let's go Caps.